When he announced his prophethood at the age of 40, the question arises, what was the aim of his prophethood? The aim was nothing more but allowing mankind to meditate and reflect on their existence, in order that after meditation and reflection, mankind not only had respect for themselves, but they had respect for other creations of God as well. That's it. We made our prophet's religion complicated, whereas his mission from the beginning was a mission which was simple. Arabians were in Jahiliyyah. If any society is stagnant, it means it's a society which doesn't reflect. And when the human doesn't reflect, then he is the cause of a virus in his society. When the Prophet began his mission, did he begin by saying, all of you pray namaz right now? Did he say, all of you, Shahr Ramadan, fast, fast? All of you, keep a bed. All of you wear hijab. He began first by saying, mankind, reflect on your existence. Have an hour of reflection, it's greater than 70 years of dry worship. Today's Islam is too dogmatic. It is too focused on halal, haram, halal, haram, halal, haram, wajib, makruh, halal, haram. You're looking at them and you say, this is what Muhammad brought? No. The Prophet began his mission, and the first part of the mission was what? A true human is one who is reflecting on their role in this world. The moment they reflect, everything else will fall into place. Today's Muslims, we focus on the jigsaw pieces, we've forgotten the puzzle. Notice Miqdad, what does he say? He says those early days in Islam, what were we doing? He says in those early days in Islam, I heard the Prophet through, for example, one hadith saying, I heard the Prophet saying an hour of reflection is greater than a year of worship. And then I heard Ibn Abbas say, the Prophet said, an hour of reflection is greater than 7 years of worship. Then I heard another companion say, an hour of reflection is greater than 70 years of worship. So I said, I'm going to go to the Prophet and ask him, how in one hadith are you telling the people an hour of reflection is greater than a year? In a second you're saying an hour of reflection is greater than 7 years of worship. In a third you're saying an hour of reflection is greater than 70 years of worship. When he told the Prophet said, Miqdad, come with me. Let's ask the first person. They asked the first person, how do you reflect? He said, I look at the creations of the heavens and the earth, and I think to myself, these cannot have come by an accident. The Prophet said, his 1 hour of reflection is greater than a year of worship. Then they went to the second. They said to him, how do you reflect? He replied by saying what? I think about the day of judgment and the questions I'm going to be asked about what I did in public, but what I did in private as well. Rasul said his 1 hour of worship is greater than 7 years of, his 1 hour is greater than 7 years of worship. Then he went to the third. How do you reflect? The third said, I'm going to be very frank with you. I think about hellfire and I get scared. His 1 hour of reflection is greater than 70 years of worship. Because the moment you think about that, it will make you change your ways quite quickly. The origin of the religion was what? The Prophet began first by saying, 1 hour of reflection in this religion is greater than 70 years of dry worship. You can fast and pray and fast and pray and fast and pray. But if you fast for 30 days in the year, but the other 335, you're not reflecting on your life, on your role, on your meaning, on your objectives, then you haven't understood the true message of the religion of Islam. Then after that, the moment you reflect on your creation, that you were one day insignificant, you weren't worth mentioning, you came from something where if you look at it you are disgusted, then you'll look around those around you and you'll say, if I am so low, then why am I so arrogant to those who are around me? That's why when he began his mission, first at the age of 40, he asked people to reflect on their existence. Then he said, now that you've reflected, the first area I want you to remove is the area of racism in your society. Why? Because he knew when the human reflects, there'll never be a racist human being. Because what am I? Yes, because I'm a certain color, I'm better than another human. No, we were both sons of Adam, created from dust. You found that the first part of his biography was he spoke out against racism of any type. As in, how did Bilal come to Islam? Bilal came to Islam when one day he saw Ammar ibn Yasir was captured. When Ammar ibn Yasir was captured, the early aristocrats of Quraysh looked at Ammar and they said to Ammar, "Oh Ammar, are you the one who's trying to come forward? And you're trying to say that Muhammad's religion is the one we should follow?" Ammar said, "Yes." He said, "Explain to me Muhammad's religion." He replied by saying, "The Prophet talks of one God, and that God is one who is merciful to his creation. He has given them free will, and that God has a day of judgment where he will judge us, but he will not judge us on our race. He'll judge us on our consciousness of his presence." Bilal was standing there, he was a slave. At that moment, Bilal, one of the people said, "Bilal, torture Ammar." Bilal said, "No." He said, "What? Bilal, you black slave, torture Ammar." He said, "No." "How dare you, Bilal? We brought you up, torture." He said, "I have never heard of a message where there is a religion where a man with my skin complexion is protected, where a man of my skin complexion is honored." Notice here that Bilal, when he came towards Islam, it's because number one, there was the avenue of reflection by the Prophet. He allowed the religion to be intellectually spread, not emotionally. Intellectually there was a spread. When Bilal heard this, Bilal would later on, the Prophet would destroy any area of racism. How? He would come forward and say, when he reached Medina later on, the Prophet would come forward and say that I want someone to call for prayer. The people came forward and they said, "Who is it that you're going to call?" He said, "Bilal, go up and recite the adhan." In one step, he destroyed racism right from the beginning. Therefore, number one, racism, Rasulullah taught that is to be destroyed from the beginning of his message.